We're getting into another conversation this morning. It has gripped my heart in ways that very few things have this year. And I just want to tell you the two people that are in the studio with us already. Alvy Aoko is a wife to Brian Odhiambo. And Michael Kuria is the Operations and Networking Officer for Vocal Africa. I want to welcome both of you to the studio this morning.
Thank you.
Asante.
Good morning and karibu.
Asante.
So even as we get into this, many would ask, who are you and why are you here? Almost 2 months ago now, Brian Odhiambo went missing, right? And he was last seen around the areas of Lake Nakuru. He is a fisherman by profession, and he had gone to do his normal task. He did not return in the time that they thought he would. And so they began to look for him. A few days, weeks after that, it was said that there were bodies that were found around that. But before that, there was an alarm that was sent out to police, the Kenya Wildlife Service, and the matter was even taken into court. Court said that KWS did not have a case to answer. Unfortunately, after that, there were bodies, one believed to be that of Brian Odhiambo, but have yet to be recovered or confirmed. And that is where we are today. So Alvy Aoko is here, and as we do that, we're going to go into the details of the story, because the cry is justice for Brian Odhiambo, and Michael Kuria will help us through that conversation as well. Usually when you come into the situation room, we're going to settle things down a little bit. So CT has a proverb that he wants to share with us today. And in the moment where it is a little bit difficult, I'm still going to ask you to share what you think that proverb means. Is that okay? All right, let's do that.
Proverbs are from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. A donkey which goes to grow a horn returns with the ears cut off. A donkey that goes to grow a horn returns with the ears cut off.
Alvy, what do you think about that?
I think Brian went to fish so that he can provide for his family, but he did not come back.
Well, yep. Not only have you responded, but you've contextualized it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Brian, sorry.
Michael.
Michael Kuria, yes.
Yes. I would say that someone who sets out to do the unimaginable, even if they do not attain the unimaginable thing they are going to do, they will still attain something else.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
Very well said.
Very well said.
Sometimes we look at it just in the negative.
And yet there's a positive way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Michael. So Alvy, it'll be difficult, but I want you to tell us what happened. Tell us when it happened and what happened. Let's start off with you.
It was 18th January around 10 a.m. I left my husband at home, me heading to work. I tell him we'll see each other in the evening. After that, he went fishing, me went to my workplace. Then my mother-in-law called me and told me, Ivy, your husband has been taken by the KWS officer. You can just hurry, come rescue him. Then all of a sudden he has told me, no, let's just wait, because they have get him into the car to their Land Rover. They will take him to Bondeni police station. We took him there. We went. I just relaxed because I knew I'll just go do some. Then I bail him out. Then it reached 6. No response from him. I tried calling his phone. No one was answering his phone. Then 6, I went. Now look where my husband was. I could not find him. I decided, let me go to KWS officer office. When I went there, I found 2 soldiers there. They told me they don't know the case. Maybe I wait the next day, the one who was to come on the shift. Then I decided, now let me check other police stations. It was Bondeni police station that we were expecting him there. Then I decided I went to Central. I went to medical PGH level 5 Nakuru. Brian was not there. I went to Flamingo Post police station. Brian was not there. I decided let me go some private hospital. Brian was not there. Then I started asking myself, now where could they have been taking him? Because all I heard is that they beat him brutally. And my mother-in-law told me that walimshika na miguu wakimpeleka kwa gari.
Who were these?
The KWS,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
In uniform.
Okay.
Then I started wondering, what if they injured him? Now they want to put him and them in custody so that he can heal, then bring him out. Then I wake up, even I didn't sleep that Saturday. I wake up on Sunday, went to KWS office. Again, I tell them, you arrested my husband, but he has not been taken to police station. Where have you took him to? And they told me, like, oh, are you sure it's KWS who took him? Yes, I'm 100% sure it's KWS who took him. And all I can know is that you beat him. You brutally beat him. Now, if you want to cover things, you can just give me my husband. He took him to hospital. You see, we don't have any custody here. But I told them, but you are the one who took him. Now where he is? Then he went ahead. You see, maybe if he was taken, if they decided to took him to the water, to get him into the water, to throw him into the water, in 48 hours, he will be floating. Then I just wondering, because yes, my husband used to tell me that the brutality that the KWS people are doing, they might be doing that. Then I told that guy, then muskakuwa mmefanya hivyo kwa sababu Brian had small kids. And we need Brian.
Ulikuwa unaongea na nani ukisema hivyo?
Na KWS officer.
Sasa hiyo Sunday asubuhi.
Hiyo Sunday asubuhi nikamwambia haki, msikakuwa mmefanya hivyo. Mtakuwa mmenikosea, na kama ni samaki Brian hatarudi tena kufanya nini? Kuvua. Nipeni tu bwana wangu. Na nilishtuka tu mara moja. Then they told me like, no, you just go report the missing person.
So Alvy, as tukiongea kuhusu story ya Brian, ni nani alikuwa anaambia mother-in-law that Brian alikuwa arrested? I mean, mwenye alimpatia hiyo info, ni nani alimwambia Brian has been arrested? Na hiyo information yake imetumika kama testament, ame-record statement.
Mom, kuna kijana alikuwa anakata ponyasi. Unaona hapo ndani.
Ndani ya KWS.
Hapo ndani wanaingiaga wanakata nyasi. So kijana si alikimbia kaita Carlos, brother Brian. Akamwambia brother yako amechukuliwa. Sasa mama naye alikuwa anakunywa chai, sipea afuate. Si ndio akifuata akapata walikuwa shamrukisha waya, wanaenda naye. Wanamvuruta na mguu. Brian was unable to walk, and one of the KWS alikuwa amevaa inaitwa gloves kwa mkono. Amechukua the hizo time, anampaka nazo hivi kwa uso.
So mom aliwitness,
Carlos aliwitness. There's some witnesses, women were there. Then ile screaming, ile screaming ndio ilituma wakaenda na Brian. Mimi nashindwa je, KWS kabisa walionekana wakichukua Brian. Sijui mbona hata ujaji alikuwa anasema hawakuchukua Brian. Huyo David Oyugi mwenyewe alikubali tukiwa kotini walichukua Brian.
David Oyugi nani?
Huyo mkubwa in charge of the KWS alikubali walichukua Brian. Sijui mbona ilifika mali tena wanasema hawakuchukua Brian.
Okay. Wakati mlitoka kotini, when you left court, now that was after that Sunday when you addressed them directly, the next week you were in court, I mean, which we also walikuambia KWS hawana case.
Walisema KWS hawana case, hawana hiyo inaitwaje, hawana hiyo nini ya kuonyesha alikuwa kwa custody yao.
Okay. So they said he was not in their custody. They said there was no case to answer. What were you supposed to do next? Walituambia, wote nakumbuka walisema we go the other ways in compensation ways.
So they wanna compensate based off what?
We go the other ways. Unajua what this judge said? Judge actually alikata case kama watu wayuko hapo. alisoma kesi tukiwa mimi na mam, na hata lawyer wetu hakukuwa amefika. So alisema tu sijui tuulize lawyer mgani kando wa Imlo. Unaelewa? In which alifanya makosa. Alikuwa nafaa tukue wote baka na lawyer aseme hizi vitu zote. Aliongoja tumeenda. Kesi ilikuwa 11:30. Alisoma kesi 10:30. People are not there.
So lawyer wako alikuwa,
lawyer wangu alikuwa anaongojea ndo tukuje sasa hiyo 11:30. So kila mtu yuko nje, kila mtu yuko shughuli zake, then wanasoma kesi. Si tunaitwa, tulikuwa tumekaa hapo tunaongojea hiyo 11:30 fike, tunaitwa kuja, kesi yenu inaendelea. Si ndo ile tukiingia tunasikia mi hata actually hakuna kitu nilisikia, ni KWS they don't have, yani hawayuko in responsible of Brian being in their custody. You can go the other ways, like compensation ways.
Compensation for what?
Akusema ni nini, alisema we go the other ways in compensation. So kitu yenye alisema ni hii yenye tulienda produce Brian either dead or alive, ati ni ngumu kwao. So
Michael, tukiongea kuhusu history ya Brian, you as a lawyer,
I'm not a lawyer.
I'm
a human rights officer. Africa, yes.
Okay, so now history ya amepelekwa kotini, ruling imepeanwa that KWS have no case to answer. Now here is a question of history of compensation. It's compensation based off what?
First of all is to thank you guys for inviting us here today to, as we continue to pursue justice for Brian. And me and Alvy, we are not lawmen. Sisi ni watu tunasikia Rosalie amesema nini huyo.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, what happened on that date is the application that was made was for Brian to be produced dead or alive. And according to the evidence that was available to the judge at that particular moment, he said that he's not convinced that KWS have Brian. So there was nothing else to proceed with. He said the evidence that he has been presented at the table is not enough for him to actually say that to tell KWS to produce Brian, because I think from the application then there was not enough evidence, which we understand.
So essentially the case was dismissed from the court. Right. Yes. So take us down now. I mean, it was a couple of weeks after that the next development, and I don't want to be the one to tell the story, but what was the next development that has brought us to the place now where there's the high suspicion that Brian is not alive?
Well, you see, when CT asked us to describe this proverb, the first thing that came to mind was what I said. About you might go looking for something and find something else. When we got the call from Brian's family, we knew we are just going to put some pressure and he's in custody, he'll be released. And then we got to Nakuru, and then we start asking around, and then what we hear is that Brian was taken, and he's not the first person, he's not the second, he's not the 10th, he's not the 15th. These are information from the residents. In a span of like 30 minutes, you'd have gotten that information. They'll even tell you there are people that were shot. So we started gathering that this is something that is bigger than what we are seeing.
Yeah.
And that's when we started. So fast forward to the dismissing of the case. So the next thing, after the lawyers put their heads together, they decided that we should seek for a petition to identify if and how many cases of people might be, how many victims of these, I want to call it enforced disappearances in the park. And that is where we started. We did a petition, which is what we have been seeing on the news every other time we are in court. So they drew up a petition, and we want to get permission or to get the government to see if they can declare, KWS, the park, the Lake Nakuru National Park, as a crime scene, because many people are complaining, and the evidence, what do I call it? From what we hear from residents, and as Alvy said here earlier, there were more than 10 people who saw Brian being taken, and they are convinced Brian is in the park.
Okay.
And it's not one person, so we are made to believe. And because now we cannot proceed with this case since the judge said there's not enough evidence, so we have to find a way to convince the court that indeed we can find Brian, and that's when we started.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, after that, when the individual came out saying that they had seen or what they thought were bodies around the lake area, what was that about?
Well, I got a call actually from Alvy, and she told me there's someone she trusts. I think they've been friends for a while. A friend to one of the officers in the park. So he'd gone to visit that friend, and as they were walking, in fact, he said he saw a few bodies. He took a glance, he saw a few bodies. So when he came, and there were all these rumors that Brian is in the park. People say the officers kill and they throw you in the park or they bury you somewhere. So he came and talked to Alvy, and Alvy called us, told us that someone has seen Brian, the body of Brian in the park.
Did this individual specifically say that he had seen Brian's body word for word?
Yes, yes. Which means this is an individual that knows Brian, knows how Brian dresses. Because he just glanced and he saw. So he came, he told Alvy called us, and the lawyer and the family tried to access the park, but then it became a problem because they were refused access.
Okay.
Then we had to wait for the weekend to end, get to Monday, which still was a problem. From morning, I think we accessed the park at around 4 p.m. So that's how we got there.
Okay. And so getting into the park, were you there, Alvy?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay. Did you see any bodies in the park?
No, I didn't see any bodies, but I see graves, and they were freshly dug. And what just came into my mind is that there was a cover-up because we were to get into the park on Thursday. But all of a sudden, the deputy DCIO called me. Now we've got the access to the park. We should go there on Sunday. But Wakili was not there, so we could have not go. So the Wakili requested we go on Monday. So this 4 days of covering up. And this our witness did not doubt. We went and find wherever he took us, we find a grave that was freshly dug. Freshly dug. We go to the next. We had two scenes. When we go to the other scene, we find also holes that looks like graves and freshly dug. And he told us it was 6 holes, and it was exactly the way he told us.
I want to ask this question. You say that you're talking to the community who live around the lake. Brian's case was just one out of many.
Yes.
So why had this not come to light before if other people had disappeared?
City, we're in Nairobi, and things happen in the villages.
Yes, they do.
You remember in Shakahola? It took us time. We found over 300 people who had even rotten. So apparently this is something that keeps happening in the park. And many families suffer in silence. So when we got there, when we started talking to people, someone tells you, even I know a friend of mine whose son disappeared. We have never seen him. Last was seen going into the park. There are people who have been shot. I think last week we had presented a petition to Senate. We were with at least 3 families who all claim their kin were last seen at the park. And there is one whose kin is already dead, shot by the officers. And there are many others.
And when you say shot, the bodies were recovered?
Yeah, one has buried their child.
Okay.
Let me ask this question. Do people fish in Lake Nakuru legally?
Well, you're not supposed to fish in Lake Nakuru.
Why?
For reasons I do not know, but people speculate that it is said that the fish that is found in the lake is not suitable for human consumption. But still, people fish and people consume that fish. And there's something else that you should know. You see, from the information we got from the people, which is, of course, we have not verified, is that there is some sort of business that goes on between the officers in the lake and fishermen.
That is the officers, the KWS officers.
Yes.
Yes.
You come in, you give them 10,000, they give you a few hours to fish.
Per day?
10,000 is just a figure.
Okay.
Yeah. But there is a fee. It's illegal. You're not supposed to fish, but they have created some sort of a scheme where you can come and you pay them, and then they allow you to fish, and they allow you to go to where you'll catch bigger fish and better fish. So from what we thought, it's just that there are some fishermen who cannot afford to pay this thing, this fee. Because you see, most of them, tunafish leo, tunakula leo. Tunauza leo 70 bob, tunauza ya 300. We pay school fees, tokens, nini, inaisha. So I think from what we gathered is they are usually a bit bitter if you are not, paying the toll.
To pay the 10,000.
So
okay. Brian Odhiambo is a fisherman, and we're looking at the 18th of January when he left his wife to go and fish. It's established that there's a fee or a token that you would pay to KWS officers to be able to fish within the national park, Lake Nakuru National Park, which we've already known that is not a legal activity. However, today, and we're going to say his name, Brian Odhiambo, is missing. There are many thoughts in terms of where he could be or what could have happened to him. His wife, Alvy Aoko, is here. Human rights activist Michael Kuria is here as well. And we're having the conversation. We want to know where Brian is. The 18th of March would have made it 2 months exactly since the last time she saw him. And 3 days after that, 4 days now, 6 days after that. So for 2 months and 6 days, you've not seen him. And the question is now, with the courts saying what they said, with this witness who came out, and we will not mention their names, obviously because this is still an ongoing process, with those witnesses who have come forward to say that there's a possibility that they saw him, the question is, Alvy, where are we now in terms of what is going to be done?
We went back to court with Vocal Africa and we decided to do an inquest. Now the inquest was, the DCI were given 30 days to finish the investigation, and the DPP was given 21 days to prosecute those who took Brian. If they could, kama watafanya hivyo, tutaenda na inquest. Now the judiciary au wenyewe watachunguza kwenye Brian ako. Na mi hata kitu nanishtua ni baka sai tujaipelekwa na DCI koti atili ya serikali 2 months kabisa, umeenda ukaripoti kwa mtu, tuoni kinu wetu, sioni baba watoto wangu, inasemekana wajai kabisa. So nashindwa, mara faili iko na DPP huko Nairobi, yani ujui kitu na kule ingine. So sisi tulikuwa tuna request hiyo inquest tu you went through at least hata tukipo time tuje search Brian. So ama wa KWS wenyewe watu pate to Brian.
Wakati the witness akiwaambia kulikuwa na the graves or whatever, at that point mlikuwa na lawyer. I just want to understand or just paint a picture of what you saw, and if indeed officers when you walikuwa pale walichukua any samples from ground to help with investigations, because we're talking about DNA samples and whatnot in Yoneza. So did anything like that ever take place?
Yeah, walichukua mchanga in each and in every grave, wakaenda wakasema wataenda kufanya forensics kuangalia kama kulikuwa any human decay hapo. So kwa grave ya kwanza ilikuwa ina private institution, wakasema ati sijui walichimba hapo kwa sababu walikuwa wanachukua maua, sijui walikuwa wanachukua mchanga kwenda kupanga maua, kupanda maua, in which hata it makes sense.
Private institution in the park.
Kulikuwa na nikaa kihoteli hapo ndani. Walikuwa ati wanaenda kupanda nini maua kwa mchanga.
Lake Nakuru National Park, that's what it's called, has a lake, but it also has
establishments. Yes.
So ilikuwa kando tu nje ya fence, but ni Lake Nakuru tu bado. Hapo kwenye tu huyo kijana alitupeleka tu ni hapa. Tukapata ukweli kumichimbwa. Wanasema walichimba Saturday, ati walikuwa wameenda kuchukua mchanga wapande na maua. Na mchanga yenyewe wanasema walichukua kina Khalid Hussein ndo waliona ilikuwa mchanga mingi. Mingi. In which kama ukweli walienda kupanda na maua, labda inaweza kuwa ni manyua kwa sababu au ndo anajua kenye walifanya. But yezi kuwa tu ni coincidence. Kwenye si tunataka kuenda na nyinyi mlichimba hiyo mchanga, kwa nini walichimba hiyo mchanga? Huku kwingine unaona kabisa ni freshly dug. Kabisa very fresh. Na hata kama ni ati fuko niliona inachimba shimo kidogo, ile shimo ni kubwa, inaweza toshea mtu.
So Kipchumba Murkomen alikuwa Nakuru recently, and mother-in-law alizungumza na Murkomen aki-promise that everything will be done to ensure that Brian's case is handled. As you speak saizi, any communication from his office, from police, hii entire case imepewa priority? Just give us a glimpse after Murkomen aliongea na mama.
Murkomen aliongea na mom ukweli na alipromise atatushughulikia in 1 week time. In which hiyo 1 week time inaisha on Wednesday. Alikuwa Nakuru on Wednesday na alipata chance ya kuongea na mother-in-law wangu. Na akasema in 1 week time hiyo Wednesday atakuwa communicate back to us. Ataangalia kwenye hizo uchunguzi zimefikia, na alisema wenye walichukua Brian wachukuliwe wekwe ndani na watupatie Brian in whichever way.
But hakuna statement yote since your time?
Bado.
So the Wednesday expires this coming Wednesday, day after tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. We will wait and see. Yeah.
I'm going back to something that you mentioned about the number of cases. It's disturbing that people have died, they've disappeared, some have been found, some have been buried, and the numbers are not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You work in the civil society space. How does this happen? How does a community lose so many people and yet one doesn't even hear of it? It takes the disappearance, that's what I'm calling it, of Brian, for these stories to now come out, and we were asking, how did this happen?
You see, city in those areas of Naivasha and Nakuru, many young people who are jobless. We are aware hakuna kazi. There are not many jobs available. So people do what they can. Sometimes people come from Naivasha, they go to fish in Nakuru. Nobody knows you have gone to Nakuru. You went to fish. You go into the lake, the officers find you, they do whatever they do with you. There's a theory from the local fishermen there that there's a technique they use to make the bodies to be never seen. They'll tie a piece of stone
block,
and once you sink, you'll never come up again. And that is why we are insisting. That's why we requested the inquest. We want Lake Nakuru to be declared a crime scene. Up to now, you wonder why the government has not even, put any effort to at least send in some divers to see if there remains down there.
Have you requested?
Should be automatic. Yes, now we have requested. So in this inquest, we once it's declared a crime scene, we want people to go into the lake and see if we can find remains, because the villagers there, they can openly tell you, but siku wanaogopa, they don't want to be recorded, because we all know what happens when you are seen talking ill of the government.
What happens?
What happens?
From what you've witnessed, what happens when people talk? Because they're not talking against the government.
Something
they are
they've
talking
seen.
about something they've seen.
Yeah.
You see, there is perception. Let's go back to the recent abductions. People would tweet, retweet, and then you'll be abducted. So people still feel if I say something that might be putting the government on the spot, they might come after us. And people are afraid, truth be told. You go there, unaongea na vijana, they'll talk to you, they'll tell you details. You tell them, now, can I put this on record? Acha tujifunge, they want to tie themselves, they want to hide their faces. So when you go talk to them, even you, if you went today, they'll tell you, but they will not want you to document it using their names or their faces. People are afraid. So that's why we are saying Lake Nakuru should be, it's like a shakahola. There's a time we were there for the second hearing for the inquest, and people were chanting, Lake Nakuru ni shakahola, because people die there.
According to what you're saying,
Yes.
people have seen that several people have been taken to the lake, but they've not seen, it's a bit difficult because have they seen, have there been bodies that have been realized from the lake? Has this happened before? Or is it a suspicion that people have gone into the park and have never come out?
During the week, Brian, after the case, the week that followed, there were two bodies that were removed from the lake.
By whom?
The KWS
Okay.
officers. And people will say they are doing this. Now they are removing these bodies because they want to create the perception that these are illegal fishermen who had an accident and now they have drowned. And as you can see, usually we pull out the bodies.
Well, they slipped and fell into the lake, so they retrieved the bodies.
Yes, but then a post-mortem was done on the body, and it was assault.
Okay.
Someone had been beaten, and who beat you in the lake?
Sure.
Those money.
There's a question.
So those are the questions. And you go to Naivasha mortuary, you find there are like 17 unclaimed bodies there. And people will tell you, see, sometimes these people are killed, they're thrown into the lake, and somehow the rock that they are tied to gets off, and then they float, and then they are removed, they are taken to the morgues. So, you see, all these are stories, but you cannot ignore them. They need to be verified. And that is why the government
That's why
must
there's
do
a call
something.
for an inquest.
Yes.
Alvy, how many children do you have? And how old are they?
I have 2 children. I have a 6-year-old girl and a 2-year-old baby boy.
And how have you been taking care of them even when Brian was there?
We've been just struggling because Brian used to pay school fees. We used to help each other. Now, you see, sometimes I do shopping for the house, I do rent, I do school fees, I do this meal, and I provide daily basics. And tukuwai nyima watoto wetu. Tukuwai. Ile kidogo Mungu alikuwa anatupatia, yeye akienda leo Kenya amepata, mimi nikienda job yenye nimepata, we used to bring out na yani watoto wetu hakuna kitu tume wanyima kitu. Hawa watu wamenieka kwa maisha ngumu sana. Na KWS ngumu sijui hata kwenye nataka kwanza na watoto sijui.
How do you explain to the babies where their father is?
Nowadays I don't explain because my 6-year-old daughter told me, Mom, I was told by a friend my father was took by KWS, akakatwa akatupu kwa maji, so acha kuniambia dada tarudi. Nikamwambia, Mom, we have God, na huyu Mungu alijua na lazima dada atarudi. Watoto wangu wana closure. Ni ngumu nivae shati, nikivaa mdogo anakuuliza, Mom, dadi yangu alienda wapi? Ashindwa toka kumwambia, washindwa. Yani watu wameleta tu huzuni kwangu na kwa watoto wangu na kwa familia mzima ya Brian. Brian alikuwa mume wa mtu. Brian ndo alikuwa msaidizi wangu. He was everything to me. He was like a father to me, kwa sababu pia mimi sina hiyo father figure. But sasa nashindo umelelewa bila baba, sasa unataka kulea tena watoto bila baba. It's too hard kwangu. It's too hard.
What do you believe happened to him?
Kitu tunaambiwa ni Brayo alichapo sana na ati alipewa maji akakata roho.
Are you optimistic that perhaps he might come back home alive? I mean, it's everyone's hope that Brian is still alive.
2 months. 2 months uko tu na mtu umemweka mahali, watoto wake wanamtaka. You better give me that kiwete tumweke kwa wheelchair. Nilikuwa very willing. I'll do any sort to provide for Brian and my kids. Wanipe tu. Nilikuwa very willing. But nilikuja nikajiuliza 2 months down the line uko tu na mtoto wa mtu, uko na baba mtu umemshikilia tu. Hapo matumaini tulianza kutoka tu. Kama kuna mtu alikuwa na hope kabisa kwa sisi wote ni mimi. Nilikuwa najua Brian atakuja kurudi. But day in day out unasikia stories, alafu najua mimi naishi estate, so unasikia story kutoka kwa huyu, unasikia story kutoka kwa huyu, plus Brian mwenyewe angekwambia vitu zinafanyika huko ndani.
What did he tell you about what happens there? Alikwambia nini?
Alikuwa anakuambia hawa watu wakikushika, unajua ni unatengeneza njia kwa wanakurusha kwa mstoni, wewe utengeneze njia au wapite wakikuchapa, so wanaweza kukuumiza. Kama siku unaona walimuumiza, wanakukanyaga na boots. Wakikushika wale watu wanakufanya venye wanataka. So nilikuwa na uoga, ndio baka nitoke niende kwao KWS kwenyewe. Unaona nilienda bondeni nikamkosa, nikajua acha niende wapi. Nilijua wamemuumiza.
Nikuulize, yani Brian vile alivyokuwa akizungumza kuhusu unyama ya hao maofisa wa KWS. Ana marafiki ambao alikuwa ameshuhudia wametendwa hivyo ama alikuwa amesikia kwa wenzake?
Ako na marafiki. Ako na marafiki wengi. Kuna mwenye baka aliran mad juu kuchapwa. Kuna mwenye kuna mwenye alikatwa nyama hivi, alienda kwa mashamba ayuko Nakuru juu kuchapwa. Kuna mwenye ongei kabisa. So I was ready for everything. But kitu nilikuwa najua kurudi na watarudi akiwa sawa. But sikuwa nimemweka kwa hiyo part ya kifo until senye niliona atumuoni kabisa. Hiyo tu ndio ilituma nikajiambia hawa. So nikikaa hivi kidogo rafiki yangu akaniambia, na what if nasikia Brian alienda hapo hivyo kwa hiyo gate akakunywa maji na akakata roho, au wengine wakipelekwa bondeni police station yakarudishwa ndani. Hapo tu ndo roho ile.
Au wenye alikuwa nao wenye walipelekwa bondeni police station, have you spoken to them and what are they saying?
Wote wanasema Brian alikuwa kwa gari, wali exchange gari, na Brian hakuweza kumove kabisa. Yeye alikuwa tu amelala kabisa. Hakuwa anaweza kumove.
Alikuwa ameongelesha mtu yoyote?
Unajua yeye alitolewa nje ya fence. Yeye alikuwa ameweza kuruka akatoka baka nje ya fence. Brian alichukuliwa nje ya fence tu akarudishwa ndani. So ile katika ile harakati ya kuchapwa, Brian alienda na nikama alesha. Brian alikuwa amefast akichukuliwa. He was praying. So alikuwa tu amelala, he was helpless. Alikuwa tu amelala. Now I think venye waliona imekuwa ngumu kwao, si ndio wakasema waitishe Land Rover nyingine wa exchange yani. So wale 11 wakapelekwa bondeni, but Brian hakupelekwa. Wote wanasema Brian hakupelekwa hiyo station, walirudisha ndani ya park. Sasa huku kwenye walimrudisha ndani ya park ndo tujue ni wapi. Au wenyewe huyu David Oyugi anakubali kabisa walichukua Brian, mara Brian aliapa. Au wenyewe walishikwa na Brian anasema Brian hakuepa, Brian alikuwa amelala tu kwa gari.
So kwa ufupi, siku ambao Brian inasemekana alishikwa, kuna wengine walishikwa pia. So there were 11.
There were 11. So plus Brian walikuwa 12.
So Brian peke yake ndio hakurudi.
Hakuweza.
Na umewahi kuongea na hao wengine?
Kuna mwenye tulipatana, unaona sasa ile katika ile harakati ya kuriot, kuna mwenye alijitokeza na katuambia ukuli Brian alikuwa tu amelala. Na ati wao wenyewe wakasema ati acha nini na huyu hataenda tutampeleka wapi hospitali. Baka sahi.
You see, we live in a country where we expect that the leadership, the police would come through for us at our lowest moment. At a point where KWS is there to serve the public and to ensure that even that park is protected for the residents, because that park is not property for KWS, it's property for the people of Kenya. And when Brian goes there to eke a living, it's because there are no jobs. And even if he was on the wrong, there is a judicial process that everyone should follow. And there is no reason why anybody would take Brian's life or mistreat Brian or beat up Brian because he broke the law. City, you grew up in Nakuru.
I did.
At any point, did you ever access it?
If you ask me the story before KWS or what it was called, I'm trying to remember what the earlier name was established, you could just go to the lake.
Yes.
There was no one stopping you. There was nothing.
Yes.
Then KWS came into being, and then the hotels came in. But the truth of the matter is that this is not the only government facility that we know of.
Yes.
Asha also has KWS officers because they're animals that live within the lake.
Even the ocean has KWS because marine
you talk
life,
about it. I'm just thinking of places where the Mara, all these game reserves, game parks have KWS. The infamous one is Savo. Savo is where we found very many bodies, and stories of bodies being half-eaten have emerged. So the question you want to ask yourself is this. This is what we are hearing now. For how long have people been disappearing?
Yes.
Because it can't be yesterday. For how long? And the community has kept quiet.
Yeah. Which begs the question, Alvy, why does it feel as though the community in Nakuru has been silent, especially at a point where people have been disappearing? Because you're right in the center of it.
And Brian told you that people... Brian, you said, Brian told you as well that this is something that they know. Why would people not speak out before this?
Watu wanaogopa. Unajua KWS ni wanyama, they are animal themselves.
The animals protecting animals.
They are animals themselves. So unapata mtu anaogopa ile nikisema na kesho nikishikwa nikivua si watani maliza. Unaona? Nikisema yani huku ndani baka wa mama wanarepiwa. Huku saiza Mwarekibi wa mama wanarepiwa, lakini sasa kwa sababu hapo ndio unaendaga kuvua unapata pesa, unaona sitapeana, sitasema. Aya DCI akiambiwa achunguze, wamalizi wakamilishe uchunguzi wao. Unapata kuna mama mwenye mtoto wake alipotea nao. This is the third year. Alituambia alitishiwa. To an extent baka akahama kwenye alikuwa anaishi akakuja the other place. Jua kuambiwa tu na tukisikia ukiongea tena tunakumaliza.
So I mean, an inquest has been called. A judge has pronounced himself saying that investigation should happen between 21 and 30 days. Both of these issues should come to light. But you have an opportunity, Alvy, if you were to speak to the president today, the highest in the land, what would you be asking?
Mimi ningeambia president wetu wa Kenya Dr. William Samoei Ruto, tunataka tu closure ya Brayo. Shit do happen. Tunataka closure tu ile. At least I can tell my children I buried your father there. It will be easier for me. Lakini it will be hard kumwambia alipotezwa na KWS na tukanyamaza. Tena next tunataka justice ya Brayo. Brian was a father. Brian was a husband. Brian was a son to someone. Alikuwa na brothers na sisters. Mimi kitu tu ninaomba ni justice for Brian Odhiambo.
Michael, from an activist point of view and what will happen legally in the next couple of weeks or so, what outcomes and how can we deal with those particular outcomes?
Well, for us, it's very simple. Justice. If Brian was fishing illegally, book him. Let's take him through the due process. But we cannot allow agencies of the government to be taking matters in their own hands. Started with the police, picking people from the streets. Now it's going to KWS. Who knows who next will be taking people and hiding them away until we have to come here for Alvy to be asking for the corpse of his husband and the father to her children. It's so sad when you speak to the mom and you can hear what she's saying. She's saying that she does not even mind to get her son's body dead. She's okay with that. Yani hapo ndo amefikishwa. She just want to get the body. The injustices that are happening in this country, and every day we keep quiet and they look normal. It's something that people should start discussing actively and pushing for justice for such families, because this is just an example. There are many families like we have told you. So for us, it's we'll wait for the days to pass, but Lake Nakuru should be an investigation should be opened there, because we are sure many people might have faced a lot of injustices there and they are quiet. Just maybe to add on what you had asked her about Brian knowing what happens there and they still go back. People have no option. People are out of options. You can't sleep hungry and there's a lake that can give you a fish. So people would rather risk going there. They know what happens, but they're still going there. So all this can be solved. Let us provide opportunities for young people, and when we find them in such situations, let's not kill them, let's not make them disappear. So far, this is a case of enforced disappearance as we take it, but you never know. From what the wife is saying and what the mother says, very soon it might be declared a case of extrajudicial killing. It's very possible, because there are already people who have been killed there, people we know, people we have documented, and these cases go back.
Sure. It's our job to keep these conversations front and center. It's our job to bring out these issues and keep them alive until something is done. It's one of the things that we do here every day. Michael, Kuria, I want to thank you for being here. Alvy, our hearts are with you. It's not easy to be in this position where you don't know and already dealt with. So you have support from the country. And that's the case. The hope is that something and the wishes of your heart will be granted. I want to thank you for taking the strength to be here this morning, and everybody stands with you and hopes that the wishes of your heart will be granted and that justice for Brian will actually be done. On Kenya's biggest conversation this morning, we say his name, Brian Odhiambo, fisherman from Lake Nakuru area, missing for 2 months and 6 days. Not sure where he is or what's happening. An inquest is taking place. Let's see what happens as a result of that. But we do pray for the best. And we keep these conversations day after day in the Situation Room. Thank you for being here this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.